Our gospel reading for this Sunday comes from John chapter 20, verses 1 through 18. This is on page 88 in your New Testament in the Pew Bibles in front of you if you'd like to follow along. Hear the good news for this Easter. Early on the first day of the week, while it was still dark, Mary Magdalene came to the tomb and saw that the stone had been removed from the tomb. So she ran and went to Simon Peter and the other disciples, the one whom Jesus loved, and said to them, "They have taken the Lord out of the tomb, and we do not know where they have laid him." Then Peter and the other disciples set out and went toward the tomb. The two were running together, but the other disciples outran Peter and reached the tomb first. He bent down to look in and saw the linen wrappings lying there, but he did not go in. Then Simon Peter came, following him, and went into the tomb. He saw the linen wrappings lying there, and the cloth that had been on Jesus' head, not lying with the linen wrappings, but rolled up in a place by itself. Then the other disciple, who reached the tomb first, also went in, and he saw and believed. For as yet they did not understand the scripture, that he must rise from the dead. Then the disciples returned to their homes. But Mary stood weeping outside the tomb. As she wept, she bent over to look into the tomb, and she saw two angels in white sitting where the body of Jesus had been lying, one at the head and the other at the feet. They said to her, "Woman, why are you weeping?" She said to them, "They have taken away my Lord, and I do not know where they have laid him." When she had said this, she turned around and saw Jesus standing there. But she did not know that it was Jesus. Jesus said to her, "Woman, why are you weeping? Whom are you looking for?" Supposing him to be the gardener, she said to him, "Sir, if you have carried him away, tell me where you have laid him, and I will take him away." Jesus said to her, "Mary." She turned and said to him in Hebrew, "Rabbi," which means teacher. Jesus said to her, "Do not hold on to me, because I have not yet ascended to the Father, but go to my brothers and say to them, I am ascending to my Father and your Father, to my God and your God." Mary Magdalene went and announced to the disciples, "I have seen the Lord." And she told them that he had said these things to her. Jesus Christ is risen.
He is risen indeed. Hallelujah.
That's pretty cool. Grace and peace to you from God, our Creator and our Savior, Jesus Christ. Mary rushes back from the tomb to see the disciples. You can picture her out of breath with a powerful look in her eyes. She pauses, trying to compose herself, trying to put into words what she has just experienced. Everyone waits to see what she'll say next. You can imagine the disciples' faces were etched in fear. Were they about to be arrested? What worse thing could possibly happen? Jesus was dead, so what next? What was she about to say? And then Mary blurts out, "I have seen the Lord." We can only imagine the disciples' reaction because the Gospel of John doesn't record it. But the reaction was probably something like, "What?" Or, "Are you feeling okay, Mary?" We don't know what they did next. We are simply left with Mary's triumphal phrase, "I have seen the Lord." Now, I have known two people in my lifetime that believe they saw Jesus with their waking eyes. Two people that can say, like Mary, "I have seen the Lord." Their names are Bev and Laura. Bev told me a story about a time when she was very young. Her father had just fallen ill, and the whole family was worried what would happen if their breadwinner didn't get better. So in the midst of that, Bev is laying in bed, and her sister is in the twin bed next to her. And she's awoken in the early hours of the morning to a glowing figure standing in her window. She wakes up her sister. Not often with stories like this do we get a witness, but they both woke up and looked. They didn't have to talk. They knew who they were seeing. Jesus had come to visit them and give them a bit of comfort when they needed in that fearful time. And then just as he had arrived, he faded away, disappeared. Bev and her sister were left with that memory of seeing the Lord, a memory that never went away. Another friend of mine, Laura, was working in a soup kitchen. She was bringing out soup after soup, placing them in front of person after person. And she was starting to get a little burned out. Because every single person she put soup in front of didn't say anything. She wanted just one word of thanks. That would have been enough. She didn't do this for the thanks, but it would have been nice. So finally she took the last bowl of soup and put it in front of the last person and turned to go away when she heard those two all-important words. Thank you. She turned back around and saw as this person's face suddenly transformed. And if you ask Laura, even today, she will tell you she has seen the Lord. And she even gave him soup. I'm curious, how many out there would say that they have seen the Lord? Not just in a picture or a dream, but how many with your waking eyes have seen the Lord? We have some. But most hands are dead. And I don't think that's because we have a particularly unmiraculous group here. I think that most people don't have that experience where they have seen the Lord. Not that they don't want it. I have an experiential faith that when it comes to the doubting Thomas story, I don't think, man, Thomas needs to get over himself. I think that guy's like me. He needed proof. He needed to see and touch. He couldn't just hear it. He needed to feel it, to experience it. And I've had so many experiences of God throughout my life. I've had God talk to me through a homeless person. I was on a street corner calling up to God, silently, but shouting in my head, God, what do you want me to do next? What is your plan for me? And a homeless person came by and asked for money for the bus. And all I said to him was, here you go. But as he was walking away, he said, if you want to know God's plan, you have to be patient. I have experienced the voice of God. I have felt myself glow on Good Friday. I have seen miracle upon miracle that I can't even begin to discount. And whenever I tell people about my experiential faith, I'm happy to say that they don't say you should go talk to a mental health professional. But instead, those people, almost all of them, are longing to have an experience like that for themselves. To be able to stand up with Mary and say, I have seen the Lord. And the thing I've come to understand over the years of seeking experiences and hearing people tell me about their interactions with God, whether they feel like they've had none or many, is that time and time again, people are seeing the Lord in the truest sense without ever realizing that they're seeing. And I'm not talking about entertaining angels unawares. I'm talking about somebody is one way, and then this realization knocks them down. And suddenly they live a whole different life because of a critical moment of faith. I've been told a story by someone at this church that had a problem with alcohol. They had such a problem that they got into a drunk driving accident, plowed into a tree, but escaped unscathed. Stepping out of the car, they immediately knew that they needed to get help. But they knew the only way they were going to get help is if they were arrested. At that exact moment of realization when they said, I need to get arrested to themselves, a car suddenly pulled up. A person rolled down the window, someone they'd never seen before, and they said, get in. Let's get out of here so you don't get caught. And he said, no, I need to stay. I need to get help. The person responded, God, you're stupid, and drove off. Now, I don't know who that strange driver was, but I do know this. Before that other driver showed up, as that realization hit of needing to get help, my friend had seen the Lord. They'd been called to a better life, and they saw the way forward to that. They had no reason to change. They had every opportunity to keep living the same as they had already lived, so why did they? You hear the other stories of people leaving behind a law practice or a successful investment firm to go out and bring water to people that don't have water, or food to people that are hungry, or become an inner city teacher where they know kids have need of good teachers. And you wonder why. Why leave behind safety and security? Why leave behind earthly success? And for what? Because they saw something. Some part of them, some part of the world that they thought was dead had risen back to life within them. We are people desiring proof. We want to be able to say with Mary, I have seen Jesus, but the world, us, we need more than that. We look for that proof, that bit of strength to hold us on. We look to the Bible for proof, and a lot of times we're hard-pressed to find biblical proof. But we do have one straight, one that's hard to discount. The Gospels tell us, all of them, that the disciples abandoned Jesus either just before his death or shortly after. They went off on their own. They hid in houses. Peter even said, I do not know the man. He denied even knowing Jesus. But we do have another historical record, that every single one of the disciples was martyred for their faith. Every single one of them refused to deny again this man that they had denied that first time. What happened in the middle there? What made them go from, I do not know the man, to, I will die for this man? They had seen the risen Lord. And how do we know? How do we rest in that? Because we see how their lives were changed. That's the real thing that God does for us. God is an agent of change. We keep waiting for the big moments of life to hit, the miracle moments, the hero moments, the Jesus standing before us moments. Those aren't really the moments that change us. Sometimes we just wake up. We have newfound courage, or newfound strength, or newfound vision. Where does that come from? Is it possible that you have seen the Lord, seen what you are made for, seen where God is calling you? At least once a week I hear people tell me these stories about, I was laying in my bed this morning, and suddenly I thought, or I was driving down the road and suddenly I knew. Or I saw this person standing alone and I knew that they shouldn't be alone. And I always think, they have seen the Lord. This is how God really works. Do you have any idea how hard it is to change? Or worse, to change someone else? Anyone here tried to change someone else? Went well for you? If Jesus appeared as a flash in front of us, most of us would say, that was weird. Oh well. We have the ability to discount anything. But I want to tell you about the miracle that happened this morning. While my wife Anna was finishing up in the bathroom, she looked at the glass on the shower door. A little bit later, she comes running out and she said, I've seen the face of the Lord. And Anna's not really the kind of person that makes up that kind of thing. She's pretty skeptical. You know, she married me, so. She looks in this and she says she sees the face of the Lord. And so she thinks, okay, now what? What do you want, Jesus? You're here. What do you want? And then she watches as steam builds up and a little droplet goes from Jesus' eye and runs down his face. She thinks, okay, Jesus is crying now. What does that mean? Am I doing something wrong? Am I making Jesus cry? Or am I supposed to do something to make Jesus suddenly unsad? She was given this thing that we want so badly. And she's more confused about it than when she started. And we can all find ways to discount that. How many of you are running through your head right now trying to think about, well, the steam could build up and maybe it was dirty and maybe somebody pressed their face? But there's things we can't deny. Miracles that do hold. Miracles of change. Where we see the disciples go in as one kind of person, a denier, a doubter, and come out the other side a martyr. Or picture the most hard-nosed person in your life when they suddenly change and become something else, or you wake up one morning where before you were adamant that you're never this way, and then suddenly you need to do something. Then we have to start admitting maybe someone got a visit from the Lord. We wait for those big, explosive miracles. But we need more than big, explosive miracles. Look at how God really works. Mary was at the tomb crying alone. And if Hollywood is producing this, Jesus will come from the sky, break through the tomb. There will be angels singing, birds chirping, sunlight, you're blind. How it actually happens. Mary turns back and says, "Are you the gardener?" That's how Jesus comes back. Because Jesus works in everyday matters. Jesus doesn't always work through the big explosive things, but the little changes where we leave our tears at the tomb. And we journey out from that place as people of hope. Seeing Jesus is written in change. The change of our hearts, the change of our lives, the change of our very being. Seeing the Lord is about embracing the God of our everyday lives that chose to die for us and then walking that life that He paved the way for us to live. Jesus Christ is risen.
He is risen indeed.